good to see you again. We had our first in-person meeting of the Security Council a couple of weeks ago. Very happy now for the second time since March that the Security Council meets in person. To have virtual meetings is good, but virtual meetings don't replace meetings in person. Diplomacy is about direct contact. Diplomacy is about negotiations. Diplomacy is about getting along with each other, talking to each other, negotiating. And so we need person-in-person meetings. And as New York is making more progress, we also believe that the Security Council should go hand in hand and gradually shift towards in-person meetings. For today, also for the first time, we have the Security Council members meet afterwards in the German house for a farewell to the Belgian ambassador who will leave New York. So we have a full agenda today. Actually, this is not the first meeting. We already had a meeting. We had an informal virtual exchange with the President of the Human Rights Council. It is important for us that the UN Security Council maintains a working relationship with other UN organs and other fora for a fruitful exchange. And for Germany, human rights are at the core of all endeavors to sustain peace and security. And today we talked about the different mandates and mechanisms of the Human Rights Council that are of interest to the UN Security Council, with a specific focus on conflict prevention. Also, we had an exchange on more practical cooperation and on practical work of the Human Rights Council. The Human Rights Council has been meeting in hybrid format, where some members were actually in the room and others were there on screen. So today we have, as I said, a busy mandate. We will first extend the UNFICYP mandate, the Cyprus mandate, for another 6 months. We then will have the renewal for 1 year of Central African Republic sanctions, and then we will adopt a presidential statement on UNOWAS. The core of the meeting will deal with Yemen. On Yemen, we have, as presidency, decided to put a special focus on the voices of civil society, as the people on the ground are those who suffer most from the ongoing war and the catastrophic humanitarian situation. We have 2 civil society representatives who will brief the UNSC today from Sana'a. Wafa Al-Saidi will speak about COVID-19 and its effects on the crumbling health system. Raja Al-Mazabi will focus on the impact of war on persons with disability. It was more than a year that we saw the UNSC last meet with the civil society representative brief on Yemen. It was under the German presidency in April that Muna Lukman spoke about the inclusion of women in the political process. Furthermore, we look forward to hear from the special envoy, from Martin Griffiths, from UN OCHA Lowcock, and the head of UNMA, General Guha. We are very concerned about the lacking progress with regards to Griffith's initiative for a nationwide ceasefire. As well, of course, we are concerned about the dire humanitarian situation and the funding gap of the humanitarian operation in Yemen. We also will discuss again the situation of the oil tanker Safar. We had a special UNSC Council meeting on the 15th of July. We are still waiting for the UN assessment team to access the tanker. We urge the Houthis to grant the required entry permits immediately and allow the UN team to access the FSO Safar without further delay. In case of an oil spill, the Houthis will be the ones who bear the responsibility. This is disaster in the making, which will severely impact the ecological, economic, and humanitarian situation in Yemen. So this is what we'll have on the agenda today, and I'll be reporting to you after the meeting. Yes, please.
Ambassador, given the suffering of the Yemeni people, and we know that Mr. Griffiths keeps on his tireless work, but would you say the Council is getting somewhat frustrated that the parties don't seem to come to any agreement?
Well, Martin Griffiths is incredible. He's working hard day out to try to get the parties on the table to get the ceasefire. Yes, the Security Council is impatient. The situation for the people on the ground are just unacceptable. And we'll have today also we'll have a close discussion where we'll really discuss, the fundamentals of this. This cannot go on like this. Yes, please.
Thank you, Ambassador. I was wondering, why did you choose to meet in person for Yemen? Did you want to send some particular message? And how many more meetings should we expect in August in person? Thank you.
Well, we think, we do also the mandates adoption. It's, of course, to send the message, but I'll tell you, it's for very practical reasons, because it's so much easier if you just raise your hand and the thing is over in 5 minutes. If you do it virtually, it needs 24 hours every time. Indonesia has, you have to ask the Indonesian PR, who is the chair of the Council next month, but we have heard from our Indonesian colleagues that they want to continue this practice of a gradual return to the UN headquarters. Ladies first, sorry.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for bringing us back to UN. So you mentioned yourself the Belgian ambassador, your humanitarian counterpart, is leaving, so I suppose it's not a secret. And can you comment, are you afraid that with these changes your work on humanitarian matters and documents can become more challenging?
Well, first because you said thank you for returning to the Council. This is due to a very good German-Russian cooperation, because my Russian colleague Vasily Nebensia was also pushing for it. With regard to the humanitarian issue, with regard to the cross-border resolution, you were witnessing the discussions. And, we will continue as Germany for the rest of our mandate, and then we will, of course, inform and support the countries that take over from us the penholdership on the issue, and we'll tell them that it's hard work, but it's really worth it, because what you do here, you fight for the fate of hundreds of thousands of people and try to grant them access to humanitarian relief. Please.
Thank you very much. Let me back to the yesterday's meeting on North Korea. When you are talking about the significance of the implementation of the sanction under the consideration of the nuclear development of the North Korea, at that moment, the Chairman Kim is set to declare the importance of the nuclear weapons for its permanent peace. What is your message to the North Korea's leader, and how seriously do you see the ship-to-ship transfer raised by the U.S. last week?
Well, yesterday was a closed meeting of the Security Council where we discussed sanctions. We do it. Germany has the chair of the Sanctions Committee. For us, the implementation of sanctions are key. They are key because we see them as a very important instrument to achieve the overarching goal that the Security Council had after adopting the resolution, and which is to stop the nuclearization of the nuclear program of North Korea, which is against Security Council resolution, and it's against peace and security in the region.
Mr. Ambassador, on Libya, it's in the afternoon, but it's a main story in the region today. Germany deployed a warship, I think, a couple of days ago in the Mediterranean. And today you will bring again the concerned countries to discuss the arms embargo. What do you expect from the meeting, and who's participating, if you can tell us, please?
Germany has been very active on the Libya file. we had the Berlin conference, the Berlin process. We are continuing to push for a peaceful resolution. We believe that we can achieve lasting peace only through negotiations and not through armed conflict. We are the chair of the Sanctions Committee, and the violation of the sanctions regime, the blatant violation of sanctions regime, is something that we try to stop, and this meeting will be about this, and will be a plea for all countries concerned and all those invited, which are those who are in Berlin and the regional organizations and regional powers. They will be again appealed by the German presidency to adhere to the sanctions, to adhere what they have subscribed to. Last question, then I have to go.
Ambassador, thank you for this meeting and for restoring the UN to some semblance of normalcy. Regarding the sanctions on North Korea, it has been fairly scandalous for several years that the humanitarian exemptions are not working. And there is a very famous neurosurgeon at Harvard University, the head of the Korean policy, who has described the fact that he cannot do his medical work assisting the North Koreans, which is completely legitimate, because the sanctions are preventing the equipment he needs to perform his surgery. And this is just one of an innumerable number of human rights violations of the people of North Korea.
Yes, I agree with you. The humanitarian situation is a nightmare. We, as chair of the Sanctions Committee, have seen to it that all exceptions, all the applications for exception are granted very speedily. So I take what you say as an appeal to the North Korean government to stop the violation of international law, to stop the nuclearization, to allow for the people to live in peace, to have the economic possibilities that when you look around all neighbor countries of North Korea here. So therefore, I hope that the North Korean regime will adhere to international law so that you don't have the problem anymore. Thank you.